Hi, folks. Well, today I promise you a little bit of a scary show, I'm hoping. I'm sure that all of you either know of or have been to a place that has experienced some unexplained noises or movement. Maybe things fall from the wall or doors open and close all by themselves. And guess where we're going today? Hi, welcome to Around the Town with Marilyn Forbes. Anybody that knows me knows how much I enjoy a great scary story. So I am more than thrilled that Brian Cochran over at Vintage Costumes has graciously invited us to come over to his place. Brian has not only one, but two haunted, well, I shouldn't say haunted, but properties that have experienced some unexplained things. Also, in addition to speaking with Brian, we have our own team of investigators who are doing a little bit of investigation on the property, and they'll be doing it while Brian and I are speaking. And we'll play back the results after that, and hopefully we'll catch a ghostly voice or two. In addition to that, we're also going to take a couple minutes and show you folks how you can do your very own investigation at home. There is so much to see, and I know you don't want to miss any of it. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Well, folks, as promised, Brian here has joined us. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming and being a part of the show.
Oh, anytime.
And we have Chiba that's with us, and you can see Brian has a very lovely decorated place with all kinds of fun things and stuff, and we have been invited to join them for this wonderful meal.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, so I'm going to start you at the very beginning, Brian. Tell me, this is your family place where we are here. Can you give us a little bit of a history of the house itself?
The house was built in 1856, and my family, on my mother's family, original family, was from Uniontown, and they came out and acquired this place, and then it was my entire family on the Rush. My mother was a Rush, and this was Creekline Farms here. And then it stayed in the family since then. And so my grandparents, and then we moved. My mother met my father in Alaska. I was born in Alaska, but we came back down here and acquired the house. The house had stayed with my aunt and things like that.
So it was always in the family?
Correct.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys moved here?
We moved here back in the early 70s.
In the early 70s. Mm-hmm. Okay, now I guess my first and most important question is, when did you start hearing stories about occurrences that happened in this house?
Well, the one story my mother used to tell me was called the Whistler. And the Whistler was when a family member came, the porch it was enclosed with just a screen door with a latch. And when a family member would show up, they'd give a two-tone whistle indicating they were at the door to let them in. And what had happened then is, through years, as family members passed away, they'd hear that two-tone whistle in the house. And there was no one doing it. And it would correspond with a death of a family member. And that has gone up through the period of time. My mother had said one night, she was here with my aunt, and there was a snowfall. It was a clear moon night, and they had a small dog, and the dog heard it. The dog barked, and my mother went out. There was no footprints, but they heard the whistle very clear. It's very clear when you hear it, and a member of the family had passed away.
And have you heard the whistle?
I have heard the whistle. I was here by myself, and I had a uncle that was being operated on in Pittsburgh, and I heard it very clearly. Twice, as if I was standing right next to you and whistled.
Oh, wow. Did it scare you?
Well, I didn't put it together right away.
Because
okay. You wouldn't think. You'd think there was actually somebody that had whistled. And then, I really didn't associate that. And then my mother called and said my uncle had passed away.
And it's like, wow.
Yeah.
So that's not a whistle you want to hear.
No, you don't.
No.
But I have not heard it. I still have some family members still living, and I have not heard it since then. So
that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Now, are there any other stories like that happened prior to you? I mean, that you heard of that happened prior to you guys moving here?
No, but with a house, when you have a house this old, like I'd mentioned before, my grandfather was shown in the front room because they used to have the home funerals. So he was shown here. There's been births in the house and there's been deaths. So my aunt was very leery of the house. Like I said, there's been people that came here and they say they feel like they're being watched, or they just feel uneasy, or doors open and close. But I don't know, maybe I'm immune to it.
You're used to it. You live with it.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Well, you've said things have fallen from the walls a few times.
Yes.
Mirrors. Tell us about the mirror story. Isn't that with
Well,
your
the mirror
grandfather?
story is interesting because I used to put on, in the fall, Halloween parties. With a house like this, my dad loved it because I unscrewed every light bulb, and just made the house dark. All you had to do is make the house dark and it looked spooky by itself. And a friend, I took pictures. And there was a friend that was talking to some other people, and his reflection was in the mirror. And later on then, I didn't know, but one night he passed away. And when he passed away, another friend of mine, later we talked about it, but at the exact same time he passed away, one of the mirrors in the house came right off the wall.
Wow.
And when it did, it was upstairs. I was in close proximity to it. It knocked a chair over, but the mirror didn't break. It set down.
Oh, it didn't break.
No, it set straight down, and the wire that connected the back of it, where you hang with the screw, was pulled straight out, and the wire was up over the front of it, and it was swinging back and forth.
Oh, my heavens.
And we went back, and we kind of thought, because he was a prankster, that was him, because his picture was in the mirror.
Wow, wow.
And I told you about the book. I have the book. It's called Ghost in the Mirror.
Well, tell us about the book.
This writer, I think she was from Seattle, somebody had said about some of the stories in the house, and she was writing a book, and she included the stories. That story, and I think the Whistler's in there too.
Oh,
also.
Cool. Well, Brian has, should I say, this place has gotten to have a little bit of a reputation in the area, and he had an investigation done, about 10 years ago?
Yes.
He had a group come in, and they went all through the house and through the basement, spring house, and the barn, which we're going to be going to. And tell us what they found.
Well, they said in the front living room there's a small girl with a ball, and they communicated with her or something like that along those lines. Down in the coal bunker, there was 2 or 3 entities down there. And then over in the carriage house, there is. But at one time, I was told that there was 23 entities in the house.
Wow. Now, have you ever seen anything as far as any type of?
No, I've been in the house. The one time I was in the house, the front door blew opened. There was cold that went by me up the stairs, slammed 2 more doors upstairs. It wasn't windy. It wasn't. We've had paintings come off the wall. We've had kitchen cabinets open.
All kinds of fun stuff.
Well, yeah. After a while, you're like, maybe I'm tired. Because you'll talk about it. It would be like you and I talking, going, "Did you open that door, or did you move that?" Now, when the painting came off, it was interesting because the painting came off. It was a large painting onto a mantle, and there was little decorations on the mantle. It came straight down, flipped up over it, and landed. Never hurt the painting, and never touched one thing they were glass.
Well, they're very, very considerate spirits.
They're very
you
nice.
Have here.
They're very nice. They are. They're very nice. Yeah.
Now, I asked Brian specifically about the little girl that the other investigators had found, and I asked Brian if he knew of anybody or anything, and you said maybe it's something you're going to look into.
Yeah, I think that would be really interesting to find out who it is, because, like I said, the house at one time was the post office and general store.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up. Yep.
Oh, were you going to mention? And being that, you've had hundreds of people in this place. I have pictures of the house that actually there's horse and carriages parked out front.
Oh, neat.
Yeah.
And that's what Brian and I were actually talking about. That's where people coming and going, and even the items, he's acquired a lot of interesting items over the years. They can actually come with an energy of their own.
Absolutely.
And it's residual.
Yes.
Residual energy.
Absolutely.
And I believe in that. I mean, the house that we used to live in, when I told Brian, whenever we first moved in there, my husband and both of my children, we all heard children giggling at one time or another, and I was woke up at least 4 times with "Mommy" in my ear, and twice my children weren't home. But as I explained to Brian, as the years progressed and we lived there longer, what I felt was their energy, their spirit, it dissipated. Prior to our moving there, we found out later the house had actually been, the people took in foster children. So there were indeed a lot of children that had lived in my home.
Sure.
And I really feel that some of their spirit, some of their energy was trapped in there for a while.
Absolutely.
And you said too, about we were talking about some of the interesting things you acquired, the embalming.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that was from a funeral director that had given me. It was the turn of the century, the old embalming table, and the jars, the embalming jars, because embalming back then was done gravity, and it was done in-house. And so I'm sure that something like that would definitely have some
energy.
Some energy of absolutely of people that's passed.
Oh, that's crazy. And like you said, even the dozens of people, hundreds, thousands probably
sure.
of people that had to have passed through here when it was a public place.
Right.
Just even a little bit of their spirit of somebody, it could have stayed here. Maybe
absolutely.
Maybe there was
Absolutely.
one time a little girl that came with her family and was playing in the hallway, or I mean.
Absolutely, and I truthfully believe that, I mean, I've lived here a long time, nothing, but, sometimes a kid would be like, well, they didn't like that. Something's moved,
right.
Or something. So I'm sure that, there's something they every so often they'll do something. But yeah, the hundreds of people.
And what I think is interesting is I know a couple other people who live in houses that have spirits or energy, and they've all said the same thing, that none of them feel threatened. You told me yourself that you're not frightened by anything here.
No. But like I'd mentioned before, used to have old game nights in the kitchen with the fireplace going and friends sitting around. And if I'd go down and have stoked the wood burner or something, and I've gone down there and I've come up and guys are like, "Did you go out the front door? Did you, or," and I've had one guy, or a guy or a girl came in and said they felt like they were being watched. They just felt uneasy, like someone was watching them. And I've never.
Not you.
Right.
I think certain people are a little bit more sensitive, though, to that.
Yes.
And you said, too, they also have a doll collection. And one gentleman said that the one
the eyes moved.
That would have me going.
Well,
I'm not a doll person. That would get me going right out the door.
Yeah, he cannot be around dolls, but he said that the eyes on the doll moved.
Maybe they did. Maybe. There again, too, we're talking about spirit sensing thing. Maybe these spirits knew that he didn't like dolls, and they
if you
playing
think
with him a
about
little
it,
bit.
Because that collection, they're very old dolls, so think about the girls that had those dolls. They may be passed now or something, but that was one of their favorite dolls. So, yeah.
Oh, you never know. Oh, gosh. Well, we we're done with the house?
Sure.
Okay, we're going to proceed over to the barn area where actually that's the site of his vintage costume business. We're going to talk about that as well. But as Brian and I have been talking, our investigators have been over there trying to see if they could pick up some voices or some whispers or a little bit of a sense of presence, and they're going to share that with us. So please stay tuned, folks. Okay, now we have moved over to the barn area of Brian's property. And before we start to find out the things that have happened in here, Brian, please tell us a little bit about your business. As you can see, this is not all Brian's stuff. This is it is your stuff, but it's not stuff he wears. This is stuff that they rent out and they actually make. So tell us about your business.
Well, Vintage Costumes, we started, we both worked in EMS, me and Ruth, and we would just do it on weekends. There was the old clothing in the attic of the house in trunks that was my grandparents' clothes.
Oh.
And so we started renting them because there used to be an old costume shop in Manor, Pennsylvania, and they were friends of the family, and they came over. And as I said before, I always did Halloween parties. And they said, you really like it, you should try something. And we thought one October, I think we were going to rent some out of the garage. We just set up a little table and everything, and I think we gathered up maybe 20 or 30, and we rented all of them.
Oh.
So people were like, boy, this is great, the ambiance and the old barn and out in the country.
It's awesome in here.
So, then they're like, what are you going to do for Christmas? Well, we hadn't thought of Christmas. We got to go back to work. And it just started going that people, they liked the ambiance, they liked the old style that it's the costume. It's not a costume in a bag. It's right out. You can accessorize or you can do a full costume head to toe. And a lot of the costumes Ruth had made. And so we just started progressing like that. we'd moved upstairs to the other side, and this side actually was where the poultry used to be.
Oh,
and the
okay.
old roosts. And we redid it. That's why the floor creaks, and it had the big old vents, and people just thought this is just great.
It's a perfect setting. It is, really.
Right.
It's a perfect setting.
A woman asked me one time, she goes, why don't you franchise, or why don't you try to, well, it would be something, you could never get the ambiance in a mall setting or something. You
this
couldn't
is true.
get the,
It would get lost.
because I had a person come in one time, and they go, man, I don't know how you make those cobwebs look so real. I'm like, that's because they're real cobwebs. So, yeah.
I was just looking around. There's really not very many cobwebs. I mean, it's not like it's
No.
spooky, but it's
No.
eerie enough.
Well,
It's awesome.
there is people that get spooked in it.
No, I believe it. I did want to bring up that too about the costumes. As he said, she builds costumes. She'll make
Yes,
them. I mean,
yes,
I'm
she
not
does
saying
make
that she's going to make every, but
Right.
she will. She's already helped us out on occasion with some different things in the past, and she makes some lovely, lovely things.
This is a
Here?
wizard outfit right here that she's actually working on.
This here?
This right here.
I'll let you
This
do.
one
Okay.
right- that one.
Oh, that's pretty.
And then she has to finish it. But yeah, that's it could be a wizard.
Oh my gracious! And then, as Brian said, they have all kinds of hats, wigs, accessory pieces. Just about you name it, they got
it's
it.
nice because people come and they might just want one piece.
Mm-hmm.
And so we can do that. Which people are like, oh, wait a minute. And so we can get you a hat, or we can do head to toe. The thing is, though, Marilyn, after you do this long enough, somebody will come in and go, hey, Brian, how you been? Boy, I love coming here and everything. I can't remember. And they were coming in here when they were a little girl.
Well, it's a good problem to have, though. That means that
It is a good
yes,
problem.
it's repeat
Yeah,
people that really like
word
you
of
and
mouth
like your
is the
place.
best thing that you can
Yeah,
have.
that's true.
That's right, yeah.
But I want to point out before Brian starts telling us some things that happened in here, there's no wind. As you can see, my hair is not moving, so it's not like anything that Brian's going to
That's
tell
right.
us could possibly be attributed to the weather. Okay,
That's right.
so tell us some of the things that have occurred here, or that you've heard about, or that you've seen, or heard.
Here in the shop.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there had been some the paranormal people here,
Mm-hmm.
and they said they found there had been a few entities or something in here. We have had things move, masks come off. I'd mentioned to you before, on 2 occasions now we've had a mask. These are secured into the beams, and then it's like a head on it. Well, they're secured tight.
Mm-hmm.
On 2 occasions they were turned totally upside down, and it came down and hit the top of the cash register
Over here.
and broke the glass.
Oh gosh!
On 2 occasions.
So, needless to say, there are no longer any masks.
There's
that
no
hang
masks over the cash register. Yeah, right, exactly.
And what else have we heard in here or seen?
I heard a yell in here one time, like somebody was trying to get my attention.
And there was no one there.
There was no one in the entire building.
Do you have any idea when this was built? This barn?
This part is the brick part, and it was built with the house, which was 1856. So this was
Okay.
the carriage house, and the wooden part on the other side was built at a later date, but this actually was the same time as the
Oh,
house.
really? For some reason I was thinking that it was later.
Yeah, no, this was built at the same time of the house.
Something that I forgot to mention when we were over in the house, Brian had talked about, houses have births and they have deaths and everything. Your own family had an interesting death story with your grandmother and your mother.
Well, yes. In the kitchen, which at that period of time was a bedroom. The old kitchen was on the back of the house, and the bedroom was in the front. And my grandmother passed away in a bed that was right in the corner of the room. And then my mother had a major heart attack standing in the exact same location and died in the exact same location.
Oh, that's amazing. That's
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
You might think that maybe it was her mom reaching out to her.
It could be. It's coincidental. That time period. But yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if I believe in coincidences when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Well, okay, we've had our ghost investigators. They were over here for about, 15, 20 minutes maybe?
Correct.
When Brian and I were over at the house. And I'm really excited to hear what they have. They are right now listening to the playback of the recorder that they brought up here. And I have a feeling they might have some fun things to tell us.
Well, I sure hope so.
I hope so as well. And then whenever we're done with them, we're going to pop back over to the house. We're going to do a short version of an investigation so you folks can see how it's done. And then Nathan, who's actually my son, he's going to explain how they do an investigation, and we'll talk all about that in a little bit, so stay tuned.
At Armstrong, our employees take great pride in supporting the community. Here is a historic landmark that makes our hometown special. The Connellsville Canteen is southwestern PA's only World War II museum and home to Harry Clark's Indian Creek Valley Railroad display. Visitors can feel America's greatness through the history, stories, and memorabilia of Fayette County in the 1930s and 40s. Brought to you by the Armstrong Neighborhood Channel. Catch all your favorite local programming on Channel 100 or on YouTube.
Well, folks, now for our next segment, which is going to be fun and a little bit scary. I think it's really interesting that back when Rick and I started talking about this, doing something on these lines, he said, we need to find somebody that does investigations. And imagine I didn't have to look any further than my own backyard. Literally, these are my children, Chelsea and Nathan. And back in 2008, they were the founders of the Paranormal Society up at IUP. And over the years, whenever they did investigations, they went all over the state, all over the area. They did dozens and dozens of investigations. So I thought, wow, who better else to ask than these two? So while Brian and I were chatting in the house, they were here in the barn. They spent about how many minutes, guys?
40-some minutes.
40-some, that long?
Yeah.
And they asked some questions, walked around, and they got some stuff to share with us. So hold on, we're going to see what they got.
Okay. So the first one we have is at 5:07. So I'll explain what we're doing. So we were walking around up here. Sorry, there we go. We were walking around trying to figure out basically the layout of the building, and we caught this. I actually ran into something, as I do, and we hear this, and we're not sure. We're going to say that, preface this one. We're not 100% sure on this one, just because I don't remember Chelsea saying something. She's not sure if it's her or not, and it sounds on the recorder to be too far away. So we're going to preface that. But
yeah, perfect. Is that perfect? Yeah. Okay, fantastic. That was me.
So you hear a voice that says, almost sounds like, "Oh my Lord," or "Oh my something." I'll do it one more time for you.
Yeah, perfect. Is that perfect? Yeah. Okay, fantastic. That was me.
So again, it's something interesting.
Okay, next.
Do you want to explain what we were doing for this one? I cue it up.
So this one's at 15:30.
Okay.
So we went into the next room because we had noticed there might have been some movement over there. We didn't notice any airflow, so we wanted to just check that out. And when we went over there, we kept hearing noises in the one corner. So it sounded almost like scratching, which could have been a rodent easily. So we, as Brian knows, yes, it's possible. And so we started asking if they could move more things. We asked that basically the entire investigation, if they could move. As you see, there's a lot here they could move. And we asked if they could move one of these hats in front of me. And instead, they did something different.
So this was from behind us.
Can you move one of these hats for us? That was the window.
So
I had to say
we both shoot behind us and look, and yeah, it's something rattled the window. We went outside to take a look. There is a tree out there, but it doesn't seem like it reaches the window. It does reach the side of the building, but nowhere near the window. You can hear the window rattling. We'll do one more time.
That was Sage. Can you move one of these hats for us? That was the window. That was.
After that point, we started hearing footsteps. We started hearing, especially upstairs, which I'm not going up there. So
we were not brave enough to go
up there. You said if we were brave enough, and I am not. But we heard footsteps. We could hear movement shifting because you can hear the floorboards creak a lot, and you could hear that shift of weight upstairs in this room. We weren't here. We heard it over there. So it's all over. It was interesting. The last one is
25:18.
This last one gave me chills.
So in this last one, we're again moving between the rooms. We did that a lot to try to get a good basis for this entire area, not just this one main room or that main room. And this one, we are moving through the hallway between the two rooms. And then you'll hear someone, I guess, wants to say something to us.
At least nice.
Yeah, it would seem to be polite at least.
That's the thing. They're going to end up coming over here,
We're walking
hopefully,
across.
and figuring that out. We're walking across here.
Oh.
So it sounds like someone greeted us as we walk between there, and everything that we see.
Whisper saying hi.
Yeah, and everything we got through here, it was right in that hallway area.
Hopefully, and figuring that out. We're walking across here.
You can hear that.
Because I mentioned we had lights flash.
Yes, we forgot
the
to mention that.
lights flickered. We had sounds above us in here from up in the rafters.
Mm-hmm.
We had all kinds of interesting things happen in the 40 minutes that we were standing
Yes.
around.
Now, I want to ask these guys a couple questions, and then we're going to go back over to the house, and we're going to spend a couple minutes doing an actual live investigation. But now, first of all, start you guys kind of at the beginning. Whenever you do an investigation, like, you came here today, do you like to find out ahead of time, like some of the sightings or something, or how do you approach a place when you come to it?
Yeah, I'm going to say yes and no. It's good to know what you're looking for with an investigation, but also if you look too much into it, you kind of ignore everything else. So I like listening to stories and hear about the different types of activity going on. But if I'm just focusing on a certain area, then I'm ignoring the rest of the house, the rest of the location. So
that
so I
makes
guess
sense.
it's kind of a yes and a no, depending.
Now, show the folks the recorder that you use.
Oh, okay.
And that's something, too. I know whenever you watch, these big ghost investigations, they have all this fancy stuff. You really don't need that.
No,
Look what he has here.
It's
Just
an
a
Olympus
small-
recorder. It's very simple. It has 200 hours of recording space on it. It is, you can purchase it anywhere, really. I think I bought this at Walmart, to tell you the truth. You don't need the fancy thermal gear or the laser lights. Most stuff is on recorders.
And that's what you guys did have that when you did the investigations before. They
Oh,
had
yeah,
all
we
the
were
equipment.
light heavily. We had all the equipment. We had the K2 meters. We had all the oh my gosh, we had a spirit box. We had all kinds of
We had
fun.
the water rods.
Yeah, water rods, all kinds of stuff. But the best evidence is on this right here.
And
which
you can see
get.
it does pick up stuff.
Yeah.
Now, is there a typical amount of time that you like to do an investigation?
You know what? It depends on the size of the area, right? Because the bigger the place, you want to spend enough time in every location. But I will say that you don't want to be burnt out.
Okay.
Right? You want to do like a 10-hour investigation because you're tired, and when you're tired, you're not picking up as much stuff. You're not paying attention as much. So I would think our investigations were maybe max 3 hours.
Yes.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
that was usually covering a large area
Yeah.
of space. It was not just 2 rooms. It was a whole building, or it was, the grounds as well as that. So
Now, as far as an investigation, I know there's 2 of you. Nathan and I talked about this before. You said never do one alone.
No, you never go alone. This is for safety. I mean, if you're investigating a place you don't know, turn a corner and you end up falling down what used to be stairs, or something happens where you're stuck, or you injure yourself, or anything can happen, right? We've had investigations where we've been in places where the floor is almost rotten, and you're just afraid to walk around. We've been in places where, we were one place where I got locked in a closet by mistake. So, I mean, you want to make sure that, you have other people around just in case.
Just in case.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And one of the last questions, what about questions? What do you ask? I mean, I know most people, we were talking about this before, they'll think you're going to ask like, well, how did you die? But that's not what you ask.
Not really. No, we ask names. What year is it? It's anything to get someone talking, right? So anything you have in a conversation. So we like to make it interesting. Well, my favorite question is, what's your favorite flavor of pie?
and do you like bacon?
And do you like bacon?
Oh.
Who doesn't?
Yeah.
So
And you'd be surprised how many things we've gotten. We haven't gotten a direct, Apple. We haven't
Yeah.
gotten that, but we've had some things happen around stuff like that.
And I know a lot of times it's not the questions that we get a reaction to. It's us having this conversation right here, right now, and you get something.
Yeah, honestly.
And just like you hear that hi, we weren't saying, hello, is anyone here? We were just talking, hi.
And that's something that Nathan also pointed out too, with Brian and I were actually talking about earlier, is you said most of the time that they do get feedback, it's not in the dead air that they're allowing the feedback to come. It's whenever they start to talk again.
Yeah, I can count on one hand how many times in that space you leave, what's your name, that you actually get something. It's always when we're having these conversations, which the investigator in me says we should have had this on the whole time.
I know.
Because that's it. The moment investigation, the moment you start, you turn it on. The moment you leave, you turn it off.
Perhaps Rick will have picked something up.
Maybe that's possible. You never know.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be. And it's just for other parts of investigations. Just you'll hear on sometimes we don't whisper.
Yes.
That's a tip.
Oh, that's,
Call-
yeah,
Yeah, it's a tip.
explain
Call
that, yes.
out anything you hear in the background. So we had a lot of cars. We could hear you guys talking outside before you went into the house. So we call that out. Like there was just a car if one of us is talking and then we say whisper, and it's something that it's hard for people to get used to because it almost sounds like you're yelling at them, like whisper, whisper. But it's just because if you pick that up and then it could be, oh, that was a great EVP of you saying that. Oh, that was me.
Yeah, that's why smaller groups is best, right? Less people talking. But we say call out that whisper because they whisper on television, but they have all that high-tech equipment that they can go through and later on filter out. Whereas you just have that recorder, if you whisper, you want to say, I whispered, otherwise it sounds like something. And honestly,
Sounds very
if there's a
spooky.
ghost nearby, they're going to hear you whisper too. So, I mean, that's...
You can talk at both volume.
yeah.
Well, they were actually the high that we could very well hear was over top of you guys talking. So that just goes to what you've been saying.
Yeah. Right.
Now, you guys did not hear Brian and I talking at all about what has happened in the house or
No.
has been
No.
experienced in the house. So you're going to go in there not.
Not knowing a thing.
That's my preference. I like to know the history, and that's it.
Okay.
I don't like to know what anyone's experienced.
Okay.
So.
You folks ready? We're going to go do our own investigation and see if we can hear something else. Stay tuned.
At Armstrong, we understand the importance of being connected. Connected to family, connected to friends, connected to the outside world. Our network enhances the quality of your education, business, and healthcare. It's monitored around the clock by engineers and maintained by technicians, all who take pride in delivering you the best possible service. Your broadband needs are critical, and we'll never stop working to maintain that connection.
Okay, now for our final part of this fun, scary episode. We are actually here in Brian's house, and it's a little bit dark, as you can see. They prefer to have it as dark as possible. And the kids and I are going to walk around here and ask some questions and see if we can't make contact with some of the 20-some spirits that have been reported to be in this house. So I'm going to give the microphone to Chelsea. And do your thing.
Okay. You can ask questions too. It's fine. Any question works. Good. That's one.
I can't think of one offhand. Oh, okay. What is your favorite color?
What year is it? If you're here right now, can you make a sound for us? Do you want us to explain anything as we talk to, sort of thing? Mm-hmm. Okay. For example, we don't, personally, we don't like to be provocative. Like you see them get mean or like try to make the spirit get angry because we don't live here. And I'd hate to have something get angry and then we just leave. It just that seems kind of rude. So we ask some very basic questions. Very conversational like. And again, there's just as much chance that something is over top of my voice now as anything else. There was a creak from, I think, the camera.
Oh, I was going to say, okay, good. Thank you for, identifying what we're hearing.
If there's multiple people here, how many are here?
Still working on the camera. That's something else. You call out any sound you hear, so that later on in the recorder, it doesn't sound odd. Or it will sound odd, but. Can you make a sound for us again? Please. Any sound.
Was that you again? That wasn't you.
That little ding?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't me.
That was not, oh, that was you.
No, it wasn't.
Oh, it wasn't, okay.
A knocking sound.
Was that you? Can you do it again, please, if it was?
Or something different. We know it probably takes a lot of energy to move something. Where'd you all feel that sound came from? Behind me and below, maybe?
It was over.
Yeah, I
here
felt it was down
someplace.
here below because I felt it in my feet as well.
No, is it a good idea to stand still, or is it a better idea to move around?
In a full investigation, moving around is okay, but the floor is also has a lot of sound to it.
Okay.
So try to reduce the sound as much as possible. Walking around would make sense.
You can.
You can, it's fine. Good.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Good.
Okay.
You can sit. You can really do whatever.
Yeah. How old are you? That's a creaking from movement.
Some people tapping out their age.
Can you move something in this room? Mom just moved.
I moved.
Yeah, I'm calling it out.
I moved.
Oh, you moved, yes. Can you move something in this room?
Is that the road?
I think so.
What's your favorite toy to play with?
Is there a doll in here you like? Can you move it for us?
One of those dolls moves. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're gone. We're gone. He'll get it on camera. We'll be famous,
Sorry.
and we're just
Sorry,
leaving.
viewers. I have nothing about dolls to begin with.
That sound was pretty cool. Can you do that again, or something similar? Maybe make a light flash, or something along those lines.
Should we move rooms?
If you want.
Should we move rooms?
Whispering.
Oh, I'm sorry. Should we move rooms?
I mean, it's up to you guys. That's and our host, if that's okay. Okay. Let's move rooms. You
Where
get
are we
the kitchen. Where would you suggest? Whoop, that was me.
Well, the kitchen.
Kitchen?
Is where actually my grandmother and my mother passed away.
Oh,
That's spooky.
that's pretty spooky. Okay. Can you make a sound in here, please?
Guess it's just a one sound spirit.
Possibly. Can you move something in here? A lot of stuff to move. I like all the witches. Is there one you like in particular?
It's me moving. Must not like witches.
It's a beautiful rocking chair. Can you move that?
They must not want to play physically. But
Must
then
not.
they could be talking on the recorder though.
True. You could be saying anything to us right now. We don't hear it, but we can pick it up on the recorder later.
I want to ask one last question.
Please.
If that's okay. Yes. How, if it, well, I shouldn't say if, we know that there are some type of spirits or energy here in the house. How many of you are there? I hear voices, but I think it might be a TV or something.
I don't hear anything.
I don't know.
Then if it's voices in my head.
Possible.
Do you guys have any other questions you want to ask? And then we'll stop and see if we got anything. I'm sorry, I'm talking soft.
No, you're fine. That's picked up on the recorder. Chelsea? What's your favorite kind of pie?
There it is. Do you like bacon?
And before we sign off, Brian, is there anything you would like to ask? No?
No. No.
Nope.
Probably when you leave, it'll go nuts.
Okay, well, we played back whatever we were doing and asking questions, which you folks just saw. And we heard, I want to say it sounds like a woman's or a child's voice here and there.
Yes.
Some expressions, maybe some laughter. But the one really good one we heard, we want to share with you.
Yeah. So we heard this about 3 times roughly. Some of them it's really faint. You need the headphones to hear it. But the very end here, you hear something as my mom was laughing. It sounds like someone laughing behind her too.
Probably when you leave, it'll go nuts.
That's so awesome. Do you play it again?
Yep.
Probably when you leave, it'll go nuts.
So cool.
Again,
Well, at least you have a happy spirit in here.
yeah.
It is.
Well, folks, thank you, Brian. I cannot thank you enough. This is wonderful that you opened up your home and your business to us. Remember, folks, anytime you want any type of a costume, vintage costumes, right here, Brian and Ruth will take care of you. And thanks, kids, too. Thanks for joining us today. I was really happy to have you and happy to have you do the investigation. And, folks, we hope you enjoyed the show. And remember, ready? Keep smiling, keep dreaming, and keep watching.